Hello everyone, and welcome to the Season 2 finale of JoeyZero's kinda sometimes weekly Warframe show. For real this time! We've got a doozy of an episode ahead, and believe me, there's so much more that I wanted to do, but also I wanted to get this up sooner rather than later, so it is what it is. There's more video ideas for later, I guess. Anyway, so what all has happened since the last episode? Well, we've gotten quite a lot of stuff, which I'm going to give you kind of a cursory mention of, and some of the stuff I've kind of covered, and some of it really deserves to be its own video. So we got the Gas City remaster, but I kind of already did a video about that already, so I won't go over that too much. We got the new game mode in the Ropalolas fight, which we did a whole lot of on Twitch. We got a couple of new weapons, one of which we're going to be taking a look in the weapon review later today. We got Wisp, and honestly, she's not really for me. She's a lot less ghosts and stuff, and a lot more the sun is a deadly laser. And that's not really what I was expecting her to be initially, I guess. And then, we saw the preview footage and stuff, and I kind of lost interest. And then she was released, and those feelings were kind of confirmed. But more recently, we also got the Wukong rework. That's right, the Monkey King himself got all of his abilities changed up and everything. I'm really, really excited about this, but I hesitate to go in depth with that in a variety show about Sentients, which is... it makes more sense to cover it in another video. I mean, if that's what you guys want to see. Is that what you want to see? I don't know. We never really talk anymore. So leave a comment. Anyway, with Season 2 completed, I'm going to work on some housekeeping before we start up Season 3, which will definitely be sometime after TennoCon. Stay tuned for a solid date there. I've got some other video ideas lined up. I'll be discussing specifics in the supporter chat in Discord, so if you're there and you want to keep an eye on what I'm doing or you want to chime in, go ahead and do that. Let me know what you think. But yeah, I think that's it. On with the show.
No hope. Greetings viewers, my name is Xenogelion and I'm here to talk about the lore on the Sentients and how Ballas is the key to understanding them. So time to do a little bit of a rewind and actually look at something a lot of us don't even know exists. I'm referring to the crewman lore entry that is held by Cephalon Samaris. I'm not going to read out the whole thing because that would be a waste of time. However, I am going to read out some of the important parts that I really think make my case solid. On command, the guards backed away from the cart and readied the weapons. The leader took careful aim and fired a whisper round into the body of my creation. Two of the limbs tore off the frame, revealing a grossly gelatinous interior. Silence gripped the dome as Tvol shook his head. Then suddenly the creature moved, convulsed. The hard surface started undulating. In a moment, the wound closed and the thing was whole again. Beside it, another machine had grown from its severed parts. Their surface had changed, however, brighter, harder, resilient to the whisper rounds now. Tvol peered down at me. And when it completes its task, what will prevent it from turning against us? As the 7 principles say, the floor. Tvol's eyes narrowed. The floor? The void is poison to them. Once they have reached Tau, they will be marooned there. To travel the rail would destroy them. Whatever the risk, the origin system will be. At this point in the narrative, our comedian Parentol, also known as the creator of the Sentients, is interrupted, and the rest of the narrative isn't relevant. The interesting parts I really want to heavily highlight is the fact that when the sentient creation was shot, it separated into 2 parts and then became resistant to the type of ammunition used against it. We often see this very heavily reflected by the sentient enemies that we fight ourselves. So you may ask yourself, what has this got to do with Ballas? Well, if you had looked at him during the Chimera prologue or at the beginning of this video, you would realize that he's slowly becoming sentient. But this doesn't add up for the sentient lore segments that I was reading out earlier, all to do with Archimedean Parentol's weird abominations. There are a few fan theories about what's happening to Ballas. One, the cyborg theory, where he is becoming an amalgamation of both sentient and Ballas. Two, the duplicator theory, where he is slowly being turned into a sentient, where, they're breaking him down and everything. But then there's my fan theory. I believe that Ballas was a sentient since his appearance with the Apostasy prologue. Now, before you cast your stones, hear me out. So we can actually surmise that all of Lotus's weird actions only started when Ballas removed her helmet. From this point on, she went full-blown sentient on us and is now trying to kill us. With her resurgence during the Roper Lower List missions on Jupiter, Natar clearly states that she was reprogrammed by the Orokin Empire.
My light remade by the creators. I became a memory, a ghost. Reprogrammed to destroy my family, my people, my history.
But if you think about it, if the Orokin reprogrammed Natar to be Margulis 2.0, then why would Ballas remove the helmet? Surely Ballas would know that the only way to keep Natar in check was to actually keep the Lotus helmet on her. And I certainly don't think DE would make a mistake in the lore like this. This very much reminds me of the character from Terminator Salvation, where he didn't know he was a Terminator. And even after being exposed, he couldn't accept the truth at all. He always felt that he was human. So, as Natar was apparently a mimic of Margulis, I think that this thing that we have encountered as Ballas is again a mimic of Ballas. Something created and controlled by Grandmama Lotus, with the sole purpose to disconnect the Lotus helmet from Natar, giving Natar back her freedom and allowing her to return to the Sentients. Of course, what I have described right now is only one possible way to interpret the information, hence the other two fan theories. But now I reflect back on the Corpus Crewman dialogue, when the guards backed away from the Sentient and their leader shot the Sentient with a quote-unquote whisper round, or whatever the heck that is, the Sentient split apart and the new part became resistant to the whisper round. This is a massive core element to what a Sentient is. So could it not be that the mimic of Ballas, when it was stabbed, is reacting to being stabbed, and as a result, its body is changing so that it's resistant to being stabbed again? Because you have to realize that the mimic Ballas was never meant to be stabbed. It was only our presence with Excalibur Umbra that influenced it to actually successfully injure the one that betrayed it so long ago. Or of course, the one that thinks betrayed it so long ago. So, if the only Orokin we have encountered since the actual start of the game is a sentient, who else could be a sentient?
That was not Regis. It never was Regis. It revealed its true face to me, and by the void, I've entered into a partnership with Sentients, the world builders, the world killers, our enemy under all.
Trying to get through. Quick, get out of there, Tenno. Hurry.
Oh yeah. I'm back. Play that music. Well, I think it's about time that I told you about the Sentients. What's up, Felatello? My name is Michel, and today I want to talk with you about the Sentients. The Sentients are Orokin war machines that gained, well, sentience, and because of that they have some very interesting tricks up their sleeve when you fight them. So, where do you fight them? Well, you will find the Sentients mainly on Lua, but you can also stumble upon them on Uranus and Fortuna. Technically, the Eidolons and their little drones are Sentients as well, but I consider them more to be a class of their own. Now, the Sentients that you can encounter are the Battlist, the Range Sentient, the Conculist, the Melee Sentient, the Mimic, which turns itself into objects, and the Oculist, which is just a scanner sentient that you can't actually fight. Don't worry though, you don't need to know all of them by heart, especially since they can also pick up each other's weapons, which will make the melee sentient have a gun, but nah. Don't worry about it, because their fighting mechanics are actually pretty similar, and that's also very important. Because unlike any other enemy in Warframe, Sentients actually have 5 health gates. These health gates are situated at 80%, 65%, 50%, 35%, and 20% of their health bar. When their health dips below a gate, they will activate a damage adaptation towards the most effective damage type that hit them. This adaptation will give them a 95% damage reduction to that particular damage type. This means that you will either have to hit them with something else, or you can use your operator beam to reset their adaptation. Anyway, I think it's about time that we finish this guy off right here. So, I really like to use a Pyro Radiation build to take them down, although Electricity and Puncture are pretty effective against Sentients as well. Also, don't worry about using up abilities whilst fighting them, as when you kill a Sentient, they will drop an orb that will restore all health, shields, and energy, which, honestly, is not too bad. Like, I wish more enemies did that. Now let's finish this. Hold on. Who killed the Sentient?
'Twas I that killed the sentient.
No, I killed the sentient.
No, I killed the sentient.
No, I took out the. Oh shit! No, I didn't take out the sentence. It's right there. I didn't take it out.
Oh, we weren't supposed to murder it yet? Whoops, I kind of murdered it.
No, I killed the sentient. Make no mistake, weasels.
Bro, it was definitely me who killed that sentient.
No, behold, it was I who killed the sentient.
No, I killed the sentient.
Nay, 'twas I that killed the sentient.
No, I killed the sentient.
Nah, mate, it was me that got him.
No, I killed the sentient.
No, it was I who slain the sentient.
Okay, hold on, stop. Right, first off, I killed the Sentinel, and secondly, isn't this massively dragging on? I'm sure this segment's called 2 minutes something or other. Maybe we should just end it here.
In a world where people actually use automod,
I don't get it. 4 augment mods just aren't cutting it.
2-man stand alone in a squad of 4 players.
Cold, the air and water flowing.
This game is so easy, you don't even need to mod. And I don't need any help from my squad, I could just press forward to win.
Making peace to build our future. Strong, united, working till
it adapts to different enemy types.
This spring, summer, fall, and or winter, experience Buildcraft like never before. XandyPants. JoeyZero.
I'm gonna press 4 to win, and there's nothing you can do about it!
Okay, but seriously, it'll be out on July 1st.
Framework 2.
Now it's time for an unpopular opinion.
With the near-constant, never-ending and indefinite cases of people missaying sentients instead of sentinels and vice versa, DE should go into the game and relabel all of the sentient enemies to sentinels and all the sentinel allies, companions, to sentients. This also makes up for the fact that I got my part of Michel's segment wrong.
You just watched Xenogelion giving an unpopular opinion. Brought to you by Xeneric brand energy soda. Get energized.
Welcome to my Tech of the Week. I'm Xandy, and you are gonna make like a sentient and adapt to any situation by changing your elemental combos while you're in the middle of a mission. Allow me to explain. Just like sentient enemies have a damage adaptation power, where they take less damage from the whatever type you're doing after a little while, we have a few other instances of that behavior in the game, like, of course, the adaptation mod, but you can also see this with normal damage types. Corrosive damage has a bonus against ferrite armor and will remove armor, but once you've removed all of the armor, your damage will end up going down right at the moment that you remove that last bit, because Corrosive's large damage bonus against ferrite armor will no longer apply. Obviously, removing most armor is better than not at all, but if you're going to remove nearly all of an enemy's armor, the value of a corrosive proc goes way down unless you specifically need all of it gone, like with raw slash damage, which is much weaker against armor types. We're going to take advantage of that by inserting an elemental mod into our corrosive builds to transform them into gas builds once enemies have their armor greatly reduced. Using the power of Ember's Flash Accelerant Augment, we can add a little heat damage to our weapons. Effects like this behave like mods and are added to the end of your build if you don't already have damage of that type. And unlike other external sources of elemental damage, such as Fireball Frenzy and a lot of other augments like it, we can apply Flash Accelerant to ourselves. But wait, Corrosive is a combined element, so we would normally just end up with Corrosive and Heat. However, there is one situation where part of your Corrosive elemental combo is added even after elemental mods, and that's with innate elemental damage, which always applies after all other sources of elemental damage. Let's simulate the process, shall we? Here we have innate electricity. Adding just toxin damage gives us corrosive, and now we'll imagine that Flash Accelerant activates and inserts a heat mod at the end of the build, and behold! We get gas and electricity. Perfect. Here's an example build. As you can see, we're only using toxin mods so that when the heat mod, not really from Flash Accelerant, is added, it's going to create gas and electricity, because that corrosive is being made of the innate electricity and toxin we modded on. Additionally, it's important to remember to mod for all the toxin you can, because gas procs create toxin procs that scale their damage off of your modded toxin elements. So against very tanky groups of enemies like this, we're going to start with corrosive to weaken their damage reduction, and then switch to gas mode once their armor is significantly weakened using Flash Accelerant. This is a little bit easier to see with a melee weapon. The weapon is still pure electricity at base, and it's only got toxin modded onto it, so it will still work with this. Once again, we'll start swinging in by doing some general wide-sweeping corrosive procs, and then once the enemies have been significantly softened up, we will swap to gas mode. and suddenly they'll take way more damage, and where they were barely seeming to take any damage before, suddenly they will just die out of nowhere because they've had their armor significantly reduced. Yet, the bonus damage that Toxin does against Ferrite armor is still there, because the armor's not completely gone. Against light infested units, you can simply use the gas mode the whole time. Against Ancients, you can stay in corrosive mode the whole time. Against Corpus, I recommend gas mode because all forms of toxin damage, including toxin procs caused by gas procs, bypass shields. Of course, there are a lot of different ways to use this element swapping technique. One new and potentially exciting addition is Proton Snap, which would allow you to toggle the toxin damage on and off as well. This way you could create corrosive or gas and electricity just like before, but also radiation if you don't activate Proton Snap to add toxin before using accelerant to add heat. And everything changes again if you have innate cold instead of innate electricity. That way you can get blast with accelerant, viral with Proton Snap, and gas with cold again if you activate both. Maybe less powerful than the corrosive into gas progression, but it's still really interesting and occasionally pretty powerful. I've been Xandy and you've been Dandy, and I hope you'll try modding in the middle of your missions using these techniques. Thank you for tuning in to my Tech of the Week, and thank you for being such a glorious audience for this incredible season of our show.
Alright, I'm pretty heavily caffeinated, so this one's gonna be pretty quick. I was gonna cover some of the Stalker's weapons for this episode, but then DE done gone and pulled a fast one on me and dropped some perfectly sentient-derived tech onto us. So we're taking a look at the Komorex. Why not the Cyanex? Well, because I find it less interesting. The Komorex is a sentient sniper, and it fills a really interesting niche. It's the fastest firing sniper in the game, with a high status chance and some built-in sniper ammo mutation to aid in that beautiful sniper spam. It's also got 2 modes of fire based on whether or not you've got the scope zoomed in, and switching between the two gives you quite a bit of control over your use of that beefy status chance. First off, in the default zoom, it's got some comparably lower recoil to the other modes, and it adds a bit of the punch through that you're used to with other snipers, which, lends itself well to making the most of quick, spammy fire. But once you zoom in, the fire rate is a bit slower with the addition of some AoE splash damage and a bit of extra viral damage. So before we get into how this interesting little mix of mechanics expresses itself in gameplay, let's take a quick look at the build. On the build I use for most general play, I went full status with a bit more slash disposition. The additional slash damage isn't really what I'd say is optimal, but it lends itself well to making use of those viral procs. The fire rate is important of making better use of the already high fire rate of the weapon, but if you'd rather have the punch through, I know there are some of you out there that would rather swap Vile Acceleration for Primed Shred. The cold is there to cause the slash and viral procs to last a bit longer and slow enemies down to make those shots a little easier to line up, not that you really have to aim with this thing. And I'm running with Primed Fast Hands because the default reload speed on this weapon is honestly quite a bit longer than what I really feel comfortable with, especially if you're tearing through ammo quickly. Keep in mind that this is just the loadout I like on this weapon. This weapon is really versatile when playing to its strengths, so don't hesitate to play around with it and find what works best with how you'd like to use it. Now, normally I don't really give that little disclaimer there in these build videos, but I felt it was really important with this weapon because of how varied of an experience you can get with it just by playing a little bit differently. If you prefer the zoomed out mechanics, you can just run a really spammy build and just roll with that, that's fine. If you prefer the AoE damage for mopping up groups of enemies while zoomed in, you can just run an outright single shot optimized gas build and try to play it like a Tonkor. Both methods work pretty well here, but I feel the real strength in this weapon is building it to switch between modes and maintain high situational value in both. You can run a corrosive build and just focus on mopping up some lower level unfriendlies while zoomed in, zoom out to load up a single heavy target with a bunch of corrosive and slash procs, then zoom back in to top them all off with that spicy viral. Or if you've got a relatively well distributed status spread, you can stay zoomed in for those AoE status procs, which, by the way, this is one of the few primary weapons that can deliver slash procs in an AoE, then finish up with a condition overload melee. It's really, really versatile, and that's why I like it so much. Anyway, that's it for this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what weapons you'd like to see us start off Season 3 with, and I'll start there when the new season starts. Alright, Season 2 accomplished. Season 2 complete. Way to go, guys. Great job. Give yourself a big old pat on the back. Thanks so much for watching, whether this is your first time catching an episode of the show, or whether you've been with us from the beginning. Either way, thank you so much. I also want to give a big special thanks to everybody that was involved in the creation of this episode. That's Xenogelion, XandyPants, Michel Postma, and all of the dang guests in Michel's segment. So that's it, you guys. Once again, my name's JoeyZero. Okay, bye.